Hello again, it's time for another weekly review. This week I'm going to talk about the test that was planned for Tuesday, which was to check out your threshold heart rate, or do a time trial on a local route, or check out your functional threshold power. And we did a 30-minute test, and that was because I wanted to get an idea of the heart rate drift and show how that works. And but Matt did a 20-minute test, which is great because that's what he normally does, and it's always best if you're doing a test to always do the same thing so it's repeatable and you understand what's going on much better. So I've got a 30-minute test that one of my athletes did, and we can have a look at that and I'll explain what happened. So now we've got heart rate and power. See, they did a bit of a warm-up, they did an effort here and then some sprints, and this is the standard race warm-up that they do before an event. And we can look at the training zones here just to see what it was like, and you can see the heart rate zone was all in the zone 4, the threshold zone, which is what we really wanted, and it drifted up to above threshold at the end. So from this we can get the FTP of the athlete, and a good way to do that is just take 95% of the best 20-minute power. So here you can look, if you look at power, you can get best 20-minute power was 128 watts. So you would say that their FTP would be 95% of 128, which is about 123 or 122 or something like that. The athlete actually has an FTP outside of 130 to 135. So you can see that quite a common thing is occurring here, and they're not able to produce the same power indoors as they are outdoors, and that's not unusual. In fact, almost everybody's in this situation. It can be because people get too hot and the sweat's not evaporating, and if you use a fan then you can feel a bit cooler, but still people still seem to produce a bit lower power. If you go into the heart rate, a good way to take the heart rate threshold is if you use the last 20 minutes of your test, which is likely to be the peak 20 minutes. So if we put it here, you can see that you click on the little heart rate icon here to get the heart rate details. And if you click on the 20 minutes, you can see here it tells you it's 171 beats per minute. So we could use that as the threshold heart rate. And the other thing I wanted to look at is, if we looked at the whole 30 minutes, then you can see that the heart rate drifts up throughout the effort. And here, there's the thing here, if you've got a power meter, you can compare this is known as the decoupling, and it's the difference between the power heart rate ratio for the first half of the effort to the power heart rate ratio to the second half of the effort, and we're usually looking for something less than 5%. So this is there's a bit more drift than we would really want. So that's something to keep an eye on for the future. So that's how to calculate the threshold heart rate or threshold power, your FTP, from the 30-minute test that was planned for last week, or this week actually. And so let's have a look at the plan for next week. So a rest day after what was planned to be quite a big weekend. If you did 2 long rides, then great. I managed to sit on the turbo trainer for 3 hours, which was plenty for me. And then so get a rest day tomorrow. We've then got an interval session. It's the 4x8 minute session, which is quite a tough session. So give that your best shot. If you can only manage 3x8 minutes, like we mentioned last time, then that's good. If you can manage 5x8 minutes, then that's supreme. But don't compromise the powers or effort level, the intensity, just to do more, because the intensity is what counts here. So make sure you're doing them hard. And if you can, it's better to do 3 good ones than 4 mediocre ones or 5 mediocre ones. So, or even it's better to do 2 good ones if you can only do 2. So just focus on the quality of the session in this respect here. Then we've got an easy ride, if you have time and you've got the energy, on Wednesday. another interval session on Thursday, which you can push out to Friday if you're still a bit tired. This is 3-minute efforts, and you can use your heart rate to get a gauge for the intensity on the 3-minute efforts, or you can use your perceived exertion. So the idea is that you're doing them as hard as you can for the recovery that you've got, on the basis that you're aiming to do them all at the same intensity. And if you can only manage one set, then that's okay. If you can do 2 sets, then that's good. If you manage 1 set okay, then start the next set and see how far you get. If you manage 2, then that's good. If you can't manage all 4, and then there's a session for power. And if you want to go for a run, you can either go for a run on Thursday, Wednesday, or Friday. And as I said, if you're still a bit tired, if you start the session and you feel tired, then do an easy ride, a short easy ride, and then do the harder session on Friday. Or you could do it on Saturday if you're not wanting to do this back to back, 2 days back to back. So for the weekend, I've planned to do 2 endurance stroke tempo rides, which are going to be a bit harder than your usual endurance rides. So in these rides, you wanted to spend some time in your training zone 3, and perhaps even a little bit in your training zone 4. So the idea is that you ride the flat sections in your training zone 2, so the majority of the ride will be an endurance pace ride, but you ride a little bit harder on climbs. If you're feeling really good, then short climbs you can do in your zone 4, but ideally you want to be riding the climbs in zone 3, sort of a tempo pace. And if you can find some long climbs, that's great, just to sort of build up that ability to sustain a little bit faster pace. They're both the same. Like previously, if you're training for 2 to 3 hour events, then there's no need to do 4 to 5 hours. If you're training for a bikepacking event where you're hoping to ride for 16 hours a day, then obviously you would be looking to do maybe 6 hours a day, bearing in mind that these are a bit faster than you would be using during your race. And then the next week is an easier week, so you can push through a bit. This week, if you're feeling a little bit of fatigue, then you have to make a decision whether it's worth pushing on a bit or backing off early. But bear in mind you've got an easy week next week, and the important thing is you have to make sure that you make your easy week easy. It's all about stressing your system and then recovering. So that's it. I hope the weather's better where you are than it is here. It's pouring with rain. Have a great week, and hopefully see you on Monday for our sort of Zoom catch-up meetings that went really well last week, and see you next week if not. Okay, bye.